It's Tracy M. I just wanted to hop on the mic and tell you what you're about to hear. Back in April, early April, I was invited to speak at a TEDx talk at Howard High School, which is located in the Columbia area in Maryland, outside of Baltimore. And so, for those of you that aren't familiar with what a TEDx talk is, it's basically a small event that's held locally and sponsored by a different group. And it's where you share ideas that are worth spreading. And so it's meant to spark conversation. It's meant to highlight local voices. It's meant to educate and inspire and drive action. And so while the main TEDx conferences are very global, the local events are independently organized and they follow the principles that are laid out for TED. And so I was really grateful to be asked to speak at this along with other students as well as adults in the community. And so what I chose to talk about was playing to your strengths. And so I'm trained in the Gallup Clifton Strengths tool, and I use this framework to coach many of my clients. And it's all based in positive psychology, and it was started by Dr. Donald Clifton. And he said, what will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them? So it was really the beginnings of positive psychology. And it's a philosophy that you will experience to experience greater growth, success, and fulfillment by multiplying your natural advantages rather than trying to focus on your inherent weaknesses. And so I tell a story in my talk about my sister and how she tapped into her strengths as she enters this new part of her life in retirement. And so I'll let you listen into my Strength Finders talk that I gave at a TEDx. And I think you might find a nugget or two in here to help you on your personal growth journey.
That's right. Stop fixing your weaknesses and start using your strengths. Do you know that when you play to your strengths, you're more likely to consistently deliver positive outcomes? So there's over 50 years of Gallup research that proves this fact. And I can also attest to it and witness, where I have witnessed this with my coaching clients. So really pay attention to what you find energizing, not just what's going to win you a trophy. So I've helped over 300 people across the US learn what their strengths are, and I use the Gallup Strength Finders tool. But it's all based in positive psychology that shows when you're clear about what you're naturally good at and you make decisions that are going to fit with that, it's going to reduce the amount of stress and self-doubt that you experience. So I ask you, do you even know what your strengths are? Can you articulate them? Think about the activities that you love, love, love to do where time just disappears. Your essence is what's going to show up when there's no effort and it's not draining. So what kind of problems do you like to solve? What problems do people bring to you? This tool that I use shows that when you do focus on these strengths, once you know what they are, you're clearer, you're more confident, and you're generally just happier doing the daily activities that you do in your life, both personally and professionally. So I want to share a story about my sister Robin. So Robin's a year younger than me, and I want to talk to you about how she uncovered her essence when she was a child, and how throughout her life she has found ways to tap into these strengths in order to live a happy life. So today she's living her best life. She's a retired grandmother who's engaged, she's successful and happy. So she spent many years as an IT software developer and project manager working with some of the largest utilities across the country. But when we were growing up, I have to take you back to when we grew up. We were very blessed. Our grandparents had a 40-acre farm, and we would live with them in the summertime. So one of the things that we learned was my grandmother taught us how to can tomatoes. My grandfather planted a garden and taught us how to plant the garden and tend to the garden. He taught us how to feed the pigs, how to let the cows out. He taught us how to ride a horse. He taught us how to muck a stall. We learned how to bale hay, and we always collected the eggs from the chicken coop. So all this time, he would take us on rides on his tractor, And we would go fishing at the pond with my grandmother and her bamboo pole, her fishing rod. And we had 3 stray dogs that would accompany us everywhere. So my sister and I, we love this experience. We have a lot of really fond experiences of what we called on the farm. And so we also had a really strong, loving relationship with both my grandmother and my grandfather. Well, fast forward, she spends all of her time, she raises 2 kids, she does all the things they tell you you're supposed to do. She's traveling all over the country, she's leading these big projects, and one day she decided, I have made enough money, I can retire. So she took an early retirement, and what she did was she leaned in. She leaned into her essence. So let me tell you my sister's day today. She wakes up, she looks at her sourdough starter, she fixes her sourdough starter, and she makes bread. She has a garden. She goes out to her garden. Every year it gets bigger and bigger. She's got new, plants that she's gonna plant, and she loves to bring in her harvest and send me pictures. She also is a beekeeper. She went to bee school. She learned how to raise bees, and she jars her own honey now. She also loves to take her dog for a walk, and she spends time teaching her 2 grandchildren how to do all of the same things that she loved. So I tell you this story to share that there are clues that will reveal themselves to you throughout your life, especially at an early age. But sometimes we forget who we were when we were little and the things that brought us joy. Or we just don't pay attention to the signs and synchronicities that show up around us. So think of it this way. Happiness equals not only knowing your strengths and having opportunities to use them, but feeling like what you're doing matters. So the good news is this approach is available to all of us, and it doesn't have anything to do with your economic status, has nothing to do with your gender, has nothing to do with your race. It also has nothing to do with your age. So we can all do this, but what I strongly encourage you to do is to get behind the driver's seat and drive the bus. You see, we're like snowflakes, we all have unique talent, skills, knowledge, that when we understand it and we direct it, it can result in excellence in everything that we do, whether it's school, work, or life. So there's no right or wrong. We all have ways that we think, we behave, and we feel. It just is. So my call to action to you today is that starting today, you make a decision that you are going to be intentional and that you're going to invest in yourself, in learning and growing as a human to make the world a better place. And this is what it means to embrace a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Because learning should be continuous throughout your entire life. For you see, change is inevitable. There's always going to be change. But it's a choice that you can make once you make that decision to invest in yourself and your personal growth and development and to continuously be learning. It's a little bit like saving money. The more you consistently put into an account, even if it's $10, the more you see it grow. And you are really your greatest asset in this lifetime. And you have the ability to make wise choices. So how do you go about doing that? Well, I would say explore, become curious, find a coach, find a mentor. You can even buy the Strength Finders book for about $25 and take the quiz, and they'll give you a report. You can ask your teachers, you can ask your neighbors, you can ask your fellow students, your colleagues, your workmates, how they perceive you, what they think your strengths are. But I want to give you an exercise, a little bit of homework for the next week. So next week, I want you to take out a journal, and every single day I want you to write down 2 things. I want you to write down, what activity did you do this week that energized you? Just one. And write down 1 thing that really drained you. And at the end of the week, I want you to go back and look at the whole week, and I want you to see what you wrote. And I want you to see how it all kind of came together. Because once you know what your strengths are, what your essence is, you can set goals, you can find the right school, you can study the right major, you can work for the right company in the right function. And I know it can be very overwhelming to tackle all of this, of what you're supposed to do, but there's always a support network out there for you. And I would say, seek your mentors and guides. Take advice from people that are doing the things that you want to do. Take courses that are going to help you discover more about who you are in order to find your happy place. It is possible, and the only person that is responsible for that is you as an individual. So stay positive. I believe in you. You've got this. Now lean into your strengths.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I hope you enjoyed my short little speech about playing to your strengths. Next up, I'm going to share two episodes of a podcast that I was a guest on. My good friend Coach Arushi has created a YouTube channel where she is interviewing folks to help her clients help them move forward. So the first episode that did with her is called The Trauma You Thought You Buried, and it's based on my second book, Conquer Shame and Claim Success, and some of the stories that I tell around the shameful things that I've experienced in my life and how I have gotten through to the other side. The second episode is called Can You Afford to Be a Dreamer in This Economy? And I talk a lot about how you have to stay a dreamer in this economy. And so the next two episodes that I'm going to share on my podcast are really just replays from Coach Arushi. And I think you'll really get something out of that. And then we're going to transition into season 4, which I'm calling Smart Money, where I interview women about their money stories, about their experience with money, and I share some of the work that they are doing out in the world as it relates to money. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day and look for the next two episodes to drop, which are replays from the Becoming podcast. And I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did recording them with Coach Arushi.